call the meeting of the Maple Run Unified School District Board of Directors for May 15th to order. The time is 6:01. The location is St. Albans Town Educational Center Library. First item on the agenda is the agenda review. And that's Joanna, right? Hi.
Yeah,
The only request I'd like to make is that we move item 8F in that whole list of action items that we have. That class size item is kind of buried in there, and I thought we could move it to the first item in section 8 so we can talk about that, have that discussion, and then hi Jess, and then we can go on to the action items. That's my only request. Anyone else?
I actually had a request. I was speaking to somebody in the community and they were asking if we can do public comment at the end so they can address what we're currently speaking about. And I was wondering if that's something we could try at the next couple of meetings and see if that actually creates more connection with people in the room.
That's a good point. I think the board should have a discussion about that. We can talk about it because we have a couple of policies regarding public at meetings, and we really aren't in the position of actually answering questions at the meetings. We sort of let the public state their concern, and then we take it under advisement and get back to them either personally or as a group, depending on what the question is. We have had certain topics where we have stated up front, we're going to take questions on this topic. But if the board's willing, I'm happy to put this out on an agenda to have further discussion about, because it's a valid concern, definitely. So let's, Erin, get that on a future agenda, please. Thank you, Nakuma. Next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is the visitor section. Do we have any folks in the room that wish to address the board related to a topic that's not on the agenda or a topic that is on the agenda? Doesn't look like anyone. And then is there anyone online that wishes to do so?
No one said
If they
anything
do,
about
John usually has you put your name in the comment, and there's nothing, is that correct at this point?
That's right, nobody.
Okay, so no visitor section for now for this agenda, and we're going to move on to the consent agenda, and that has two items, the minutes from May 1st and also the media packet. Does anyone have any revisions to any of those requests? Are they requesting any revisions? Hearing none, the consent agenda is accepted without objection. Next item is reports to the board. Student board rep report, I believe we're not having tonight. The students are engaged in a sporting event and other stuff. We also have CLNA data, and we have Leanne and Lisa. Are they both here? I can't tell. Hi, Leanne. Hi, Lisa. Sorry. It's a little hard to see who's actually, I see sort of images, but hard to tell. So thank you for being here to present the information related to the CLNA data. Go ahead.
Lisa, you can sit, but you need a microphone so it can be captured.
Okay, great. I'm just gonna move that.
You can stand either way.
Hey everybody, I'm Leanne Wright. I'm from Northwest Career and Tech Center. I'm here with my colleague Lisa DeRocher, and we're going to be presenting some information to you. You have white folders on your table. The board members have them, and some of you that were here in the fall already have this folder, and they're probably $1.63 each. So if you're not going to use them, we'll take them back. But for those of you that are new to the board, it basically tells you a little bit about who we are as a school. Part of the requirement of being in a career and technical center is that we have to have what's called a CLNA, or a comprehensive local needs assessment. So if we refer to CLNA, that's what that means. So we are required to present to you the data that we've collected over the last year about Northwest Career and Tech Center. That folder tells you a little bit about our programs, and what you should know is that we are one of 17 regional technical centers in the state of Vermont. We are a half-time program, and we service students from BFA and MVU. And we also have a handful of students from that are homeschooled, and then we also have students that come from BFA Fairfax, depending on the situation of their learning. So without further ado, if you could click to the next slide, this will show you the geography of all the career technical centers, and it will also show you the different programs that we have. And also attached there, you'll have the printout, because we weren't quite sure how well you could see the graphs and the data. Point of interest, in our cosmetology program, the last year was the first year that we were required to offer 1,000 hours for our cosmetology students. So students can enter as a sophomore and work through and earn their 1,000 hours through their senior year. And then they can be licensed they sit for their board, and they can be licensed to be full-time cosmetologists in our area or wherever they choose to work. And another point of interest is our electrical program is new this year. So Danielle Bombardier was a building trades instructor with our team. She is a master electrician, and this year she is working half-time in our geometry and construction program, and then the other half she is teaching electrical 1. And next year she'll be teaching both. Students will be able to sit for their level 1 electrical apprenticeship when they're finished our program. So just some highlights about that. So this is a very busy graph, yep. What I want to point out to you is that this is the student performance and accountability that we have to report to the federal government every 2 years. So if you look at the gray bar there, you'll see those are the components in which we are assessed. And there's 3 numbers that you're going to see that are important. The top one is the actual statewide rate that we try to get close to or over. The other is the FY23 negotiated target, and then there's our performance, which is the center-wide rate. And you saw FY23 correctly, so this is last year's data. These are students that were assessed last year. The 4 colored boxes at the bottom are important because it highlights areas that we may need to improve. So the blue box you'll see there under the program quality work-based learning, it indicates that the center did not meet the negotiated target, and we'll need to address it in our plan, which we're working on right now. So you'll notice that the statewide center rate was 38.81. We negotiated a target of 50.15, and then the actual statewide rate was 44.49. So we didn't meet the target. For those of you that don't know what work-based learning is integrated in every one of our programs, and it's an opportunity for students to either job shadow, or during their program time, they can work with area businesses just to sort of understand what the careers are available for them. So it might be 8 times a year during their program time, or it could be a one-time job shadow just to rule in or rule out that that's what they want to do for a career. And then we have what's called co-op, and co-op is often done the second half of their second year, which would be second semester, or it would be done year 3. So we do have students that complete the program after 2 years, and then they enter as a third-year student, and that's when they actually are paid at a local business, and they're working during our program time, and they're actually getting credit as well. So examples of that might be a student that's working as an electrical apprentice. His building trades program starts at noon, and at noontime he reports right to the business and might work right through until 6 o'clock. So that's an example of what co-op is. Yes?
Did you, I don't know if you want to talk about this now or if you want to wait till the end, but are there some reasons for why you're not meeting the center-wide rate? Meaning that are there identified reasons that you already know about that are barriers making it not possible for you to meet that rate?
Yes, as you know, not all data is accurate. My superintendent Bill will tell you that. And so there's probably some areas that need to be looked at to ensure that this data is correct. This gets uploaded to the state collates it and then sends it back to us. So we have some questions out to them about, hey, what about this program and where does that fit? There are some programs where it's very difficult to get out and do work-based learning and or co-op. And then the other barrier is transportation. So transportation is a barrier in that students that have their license that can drive to these places can more easily go. We have one work-based learning coordinator who transports students. Lisa and myself have often driven students to placements, and so those would be the barriers.
Thank you.
Yep, I'm happy to take questions along the way because you may forget them. The yellow box indicates that while the center met the negotiated target overall, the target was not met for the highlighted students. So you'll see there that in the academic proficiency for math, and then for science, and then also for the non-traditional program concentrators, we met it as an overall center, but there's programs that did not. And so again, we disaggregate that data and look to see where we can make those improvements. The gold indicates that the center's level of performance was not within 90% of the state performance level for the indicator. And you'll see there that we didn't meet it in English language arts. And we currently have an integrated English teacher that just started this year. He was already working for BFA and NCTC. And we've changed his role a little bit in that he is working with multiple programs to find the inherent English within the content of Career Tech Ed. So it doesn't feel like it's English time, but it's here's the reading and the information for the English that needs to go along with this particular career. So that just started this year. He's auditing our staff's curriculum maps to find out where that information lies, and is working with them independently.
Is it all programs that aren't meeting it, or is there like particular programs that aren't meeting it?
If you look below, it'll show you. If you look right below, it'll show you the ones that are
Oh, I got
meeting.
it, sorry.
Yep, no problem. There's a lot of data here, so I appreciate the questions. And this is also good information for us.
So for this English, you're saying that currently this year we're trying to integrate the English per discipline, per like automotive, whatnot. You're saying that you hired a new teacher to work, and so the English is now going to be like focus-based per discipline for like automotive, cosmetology, whatnot. Prior to that, were they doing mainstream English, like mainstream high school English?
Good question. So students spend half the day at our Career Technical Center, and then the other half they're at their home high school. So all of the students have take English at BFA or MVU or Fairfax or homeschool. And what we add in is additional.
Okay.
There are two programs where we have an English class where that English teacher co-teaches with two of our programs. That's Human Services and Medical Professions. And so that's a co-teaching model. The integrated English that we're talking about for this grant funding and to help these scores is working with each teacher, looking at curriculum maps and saying, you know, here's where you can concentrate on strategies around reading and writing and comprehension skills. Okay. I think I've read, have we hit the green? No, we haven't. So the dark green indicates that while a given program offered a post-secondary credential and or post-secondary credits, the percentage of students earning them or the credit didn't meet the program quality measures. And so what an IRC is an industry recognized credential, and those are basically a credential of value that are recognized nationally. And it's also meant to help students get better pay than if you didn't have a credential when they leave high school or college. So those are the programs that either didn't meet the tier 2 industry recognized credential or didn't have the college credit integrated. Career and Tech Ed is really pushing the rigor and adding what we call dual enrollment. So our program instructors are having to teach their high school content, which is at the college level, and students are duly enrolled. So we have a partnership with Central Maine Community College, Vermont State College, CCV, and they earn college credit for participating in our programs and that have the dual enrollment there.
So for the green areas, the credit was available, and either the students didn't take it or didn't achieve or didn't pass whatever was necessary to get the credit.
Yes and no. So cosmetology just last year started, so I'll just address each one as we go. So cosmetology just started their 1,000 hour licensure program, and so the students weren't able to meet the 1,000 hours in the first year. So that's why you'll see the low percentage there. You're gonna see that rise because things are clicking along for cosmetology. And then with culinary, the industry recognized credential there is ServSafe. It's a very difficult assessment, and students have a hard time passing it. And so that is what the Tier 2 IRC stands for culinary. And I can attest that they just took the exam last week, and of the 12 students that took it, 10 passed. So that will increase, and that was specifically due to working with the English teacher. Test-taking strategies, reading for comprehension, process of elimination, all the things that we know is good when we take assessments. And then the last one was public safety and law enforcement. We had a transition in instructor in that particular program, and so we needed to transition and not force an industry recognized credential or college credit at the time. And since then, our new program instructor has integrated 2 college credits in there. So students in that program can earn 6 college credits by the time they graduate. All great questions. Thank you. Any more questions around this busy graph? All right, I'm going to hand it off to Lisa to talk about the labor market needs.
Hi, everybody. So, as Leanne was talking about, this comprehensive local needs assessment is such a big package of data that what we're doing is, this is only the tip of the iceberg here today. And so we're getting ready to package up the data and have it submitted to the state to be approved so we can receive some federal funding. And we need to have that all wrapped up by the end of this month. And part of what they ask from us is the labor market needs. And what we want to describe to you are a couple things here. You see IRC a lot. Leanne already talked about it. It's an industry recognized credential. So what we needed to identify in Perkins, which is our application, is how many IRCs we are offering within each program and how many college credits. You'll see CC on this column. How many college credits are we offering? The state requires each program to offer a mix and match of either or. So for now, for example, automotive, they're saying you must, in the state of Vermont, offer at least one industry recognized credential in order to be qualified as a program. So we are meeting that requirement. So you'll see if you go down the column, the first column, it says automotive 1 IRC. If you go down to digital media is offering beyond the minimum of what they need to provide. So they are offering 3 industry recognized credentials and 2 college courses within the course of 2 years. Because remember, our students come to us for a half day, and that would be year 1. And then the second year they come to us for another half day, that would be year 2. So you can see all the different college credits and IRCs in terms of the totality of it in the first column. And then we have to show what changes we are going to put in place for next year, and the Agency of Education has actually required these changes. So when we look at culinary is adding a college course next year. So when a student is in the culinary program, that teacher is approved by a post-secondary institution to serve as like an adjunct professor to deliver their content, deliver the post-secondary content within the culinary classroom. So it's dually delivered. And then the students who prove to be successful within that particular curriculum will then be able to register for the college credits in the spring semester. So you can see Human Services, when they are done with 2 years with us, they will graduate with 4 college credits, 4 college courses, 12 college credits. And another change we have to add next year is engineering must add a college course to their curriculum. And also public safety is adding a college course to their curriculum. Again, we brought in the English and the math on this slide just to continue to reinforce that. And as Leanne mentioned, we do have the integrated English teacher, and she'll talk a little bit more about math at the end of the presentation. And the last 3 columns are pretty straightforward. So next we're going to flip and we're going to see a lot of different pie charts. Just to let all of you know, this presentation has already been delivered to the Regional Advisory Board, which is required by all career and technical centers. So we have a whole separate group of advisory members that has also reviewed this presentation. So what we have here is we have different stakeholders that we need to survey for Perkins requirements. We have to send out surveys to students of NCTC. We have to send out surveys to non-NCTC students. So we had to send it to MVU. We had to send it to BFA. We had to send it to parents. We had to send it to community members and industry contacts. So a lot of surveys had to go out and collect all this information. We have to do this every 2 years. So looking at this one about faculty and staff recruitment, retention, and professional development. That's the title that they give us. And this is just a sampling of some of the questions, but we are happy to report that all of the metrics in this particular area approved compared to the last time we administered it, which was 2 years ago. The one big change is that we have a vibrant educator effectiveness group. It's like a leadership team, and that both Leanne and myself are a member of with educators. And their goal is to continually focus on how they can improve the quality of student learning and teaching. That's really their vision, that's their focus. And it goes to show that by doing that, this has improved the numbers for our metrics, especially in the professional development area, which is the next slide. Professional development area, what we did here is we just showed you what professional development we have completed and what is planned. And we also identified what is district-based and what is more CTE-based. And we have to talk about this in great length when we submit our Perkins applications. Okay, now I'll hand it over to Leanne.
More pie charts. So continuing with improving equity and access, this shows the survey of our current NCTC students and how they experience our program and our school. And I want to point out there's 2 areas that we need to work on and didn't see improvement from the previous year. And that is the 3rd pie chart over, which is while attending NCTC, I feel safe in the hallway. So 95%, sorry, my eyes are not working here, did I say 95%?
95.4.
95, so, so that, that decreased a little bit from 2022, but it's still high. That's a pretty good percentage. And then the bottom left pie chart is I do not experience discrimination at NCTC. Based upon my race, color, creed, disability, sex, or gender. And that one increased. So we were at 91 2 years ago, and we're at 94 this year. So what's interesting is I see those 2 sort of connected as, you know, how we treat each other in our school and in our hallways and in our programs. And so, you know, we really hit home to students that being respectful to one another, to your teachers, to the adults in the school is paramount. And, even though even though there's 9% to work with, we still see that as needing to improve. So I wanted to point that out. Questions on that one? Next slide is, this is a high school survey to students not attending NCTC. So every year, we have our outreach coordinator and our guidance coordinator that go into each of our high schools, both MBU and BFA, and they speak with every 9th and 10th grader, and they talk to them about NCTC and the opportunities that they have available to them, and how they can apply to become a part of us. So these graphs show we're doing a really good job with communicating to students that aren't attending NCTC. So they are fully aware of the programs offered at our school. We slightly dipped, but again, we're not surveying the same students. So 2 years ago, we had 100% of the students that were surveyed that said that they were aware of it. And in this case, it's right around 94. And then at MVU, we increased substantially. Last year, it was 63% that were fully aware of our programs, and this year we're up to almost 88, which is a win. Moving on, the next slide is specific about high school counselors and how they support their students and careers. There's debate around high school counselors that push college, 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 and I'm proud to say that at both MVU and BFA, they know who we are and what we do and do a great job at communicating their options. So in this particular case, the question is, I was encouraged by my school counselors and teachers to explore the opportunities at Northwest Career and Tech Center. In 2022, we were around 58%, so we've increased slightly. And at MVU, we were at 42% with a yes, and we are up to about 52%, which is also great. Then we surveyed parents.
Excuse me.
Yep.
You only got 18 responses for the first one at the BFA.
Yep. Yeah, and 91 at MBU. So these surveys are deployed during advisory. So students all go to their advisory, and then they're given the surveys. So we saw that number too, and we were not happy with it. Yep. And a point for us to do better. Moving on to the parents. There's oftentimes a stigma with career and tech ed. I just wanted to say that out loud. So years ago, we were known as vocational education. It was, looked at as a place where you would go if you're not going to college, or if you weren't going to, you weren't going to be successful in high school. And things have changed. We now title ourselves Career and Technical Education. And as you heard from Lisa, we offer rigorous industry recognized credentials along with college credit. And we're trying to change the narrative for parents. And so this is what parents had to say about supporting their child with NCTC. And last year we also had 100% of BFA, of the BFA parents saying that they were supportive. Or students saying their parents were supportive, I should say. MVU last year was right around the same number, so we're holding steady.
How many responded last year, or the previous?
I don't have that here,
Okay.
but I can get it to you.
That seems not many.
Yeah, the challenge is when you have students, when you're asking students to respond, they get surveyed out. They're asked to answer so many questions, and so it's a challenge to have them take it to begin with, and then secondly to complete it. So we're working on that with BFA.
And how many students are currently students at NCTC?
We have approximately 360 students.
Okay, next one is
is a survey with the NCTC parent or guardian. And we improved in every category in this, in these pie charts. I'll just give you a minute to look it over. And then it continues with the parent survey in the next slide. We also made slight improvements in this survey as well. Lisa and I agreed that we have some work to do around communication. So NCTC faculty and staff have been helpful in discussing and planning my child's learning experience. So we've got some parents that just don't know, and that's not okay with us. We want everybody to know, and we want to support them with their child's career options. And then the other one was, I believe that other NCTC staff, not just my child's program teacher, knows my child and cares about my child's well-being. So again, we've got a good 26% that just don't know. And there's a lot of staff in the building outside of program instructors that can support students at NCTC. Okay, I'm going to hand this over to Lisa for the industry partner.
There's two slides relating to this. So this is about the employers in the area. And I do want to say that we have a vibrant, supportive employer community here. We hold a job interview conference every year. And every year we receive more than 80 employers who come for the day and sit and interview our kids. So we have 80 employers, 300 students, and 600 interviews that happen in one day. It's pretty powerful. So we have all of this support, and there's 21 responses. This particular survey we sent out 2 times. First time it came back with 7 responses, and then the second time it came back with a little bit more to be 21. So again, we ask a lot of them, a lot. But if we want somebody to mentor one of our students, or if we want a job shadow, if we want them to come in and do informational interviews, they are there. So we're really grateful for the community that we have with our employers. So there's really not too much to share here. If there was anything, there's the first pie chart where it has 9.5%. NCTC is responsive to regional and statewide labor market needs. That's really only 2 people. I'm not sure, so we'll dig a little bit deeper into that data. We have the spreadsheet that supports that. But there's really nothing too alarming to talk about here. And then the next one are again some other slides in terms of NCTC provides students with the employability skills that they will need to successfully transition to college, training, or employment after high school graduation. That 9.5 is 2 people, and the disagree is 1 person. So we focus a lot on transferable skills and getting ready for the workforce, on being here on time, on working safely, and our employers support us in all that. So yeah, I don't think there's anything else to add with that particular one, except we do have to ask if your company has hired our graduates. How many NCTC graduates do you estimate your company has hired in the last 10 years? Well, this question is dependent upon who actually receives it within the organization. It could be the service manager, or it could be an HR person, we're not sure. So it's really hard to pinpoint who they actually hire and how many they actually hire. But we keep track of that placement rate as well. Okay, and then Leanne will wrap it up.
Home stretch. I thought this was good for you to know. The amount of money that we receive through the federal grant changes from year to year. So last year I think it was close to $220,000, and you'll see on the next slide what that amount is. But this is how it's calculated. So 30% of the allocation is allocated based on the number of 5 through 17 aged individuals residing in each school district in a CTE center service region. And so that's good to know. And then the 70% of it is then allocated based on poverty, families in poverty. So clicking to the next slide, you'll see what the amount what we get for this year, which is $173,991. And we have to write projects on how we're going to spend the money, and so one of the continued projects will be to continue to fund the English instructor. Estimated salary and benefits is there, and we don't pay the full-time salary through Perkins. This person was already employed with us, and so we'll continue funding some of that locally. We're going to add an integrated math instructor. I don't know if any of you saw the math data there, but there's several programs that could use some support around integrated math, and programs that would love to have a math teacher come in to help them to help support the math skills. Again, we've got half of that in our local budget, and then the other half will be supported through Perkins. And then as stated, we have those industry recognized credentials, and then supplies for all of our programs because it costs money. So when the automotive students take their automotive service excellent assessments, it costs so much money per test. When they take the ServSafe certification, it costs so much money per test, along with the testing materials. So this is the estimated way we're going to be spending that money. I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
I had a question with teacher utilization of like training money that, all the teachers get an allocated amount. On your information, it was like 22%, said that they were kind of neutral about whether or not they had access. Do you have information, and maybe you don't have it today, which is fine, but how many people are actually utilizing the money that's allowed to them to gain more accreditation or training or whatnot?
Yes, I can get you that data, and I can add to it. Every teacher, most teachers that we hire for career and tech ed don't have an education license. They're hired from industry, and so they work with the Agency of Education and Superintendent Kimball to create a plan. And we have what's called a teacher prep program through the Vermont State College that all of the participants need to enroll in. So while teaching full-time, they have to enroll in college courses for 4 years, taking a college course every semester so that they can become licensed. And so they'll get their education pedagogy, classroom management, sort of curriculum planning, they get all of that, and they can use their professional development credits to pay for that. After that, they can use their credits however they want. So sometimes it's used towards being updated on certain industry needs or
Licensures
changes.
and whatnot.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking that they'd all become TAP folks. I was thinking that they would be upholding or maintaining certain licensures
Yes.
or credentials
Yes.
that
And
they
they're
have.
required to. They're required to as
Right.
well.
So I was just wondering if everybody was utilizing the money to each
Okay.
year that they're allocated.
I'll get you that information. I would say that not everyone uses it. The the teachers that are new, not necessarily young, the new teachers will use all of their professional development money for the first 4 years, and they're not able to color outside the lines at all on courses that they might want to take because they're using it for that. But I do want to add that Lisa is an adjunct professor, and so every year for our staff, we offer them what's called, what do we call it? The course that they can take for industry?
It's either a curriculum instruction or assessment course.
Okay, but what about like going into industry to do like their
Externship.
thank you. So there's an externship that our staff can work independently with Lisa if they want to create a 40-hour course on going into a manufacturing plant and sort of understanding how that could connect with engineering, or they're just feeling out of date in the green building for building trades. So through the summer and during their vacations, they can utilize the independent 3 credits with Lisa as adjunct professor, just one-on-one, and then going out into industry and keeping up to date.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Any other questions?
I just want to make a comment. I really appreciate your school. I'm a kid who went to a tech program and gave me a head start, and that's why I was fascinated when you guys invited us, because this does help. I was a farm tech when I was 17. I wasn't even able to work at a pharmacy when I got my licensure, and it literally changed a bunch of my friends were able to go to college and work and make decent money while going to college. And so that change you're talking about, how vocation is changing to technical, and I think now that with the increased price of college, it's really important because most kids have to work through college. And with this licensure, you can work through college and make a livable wage while doing it. And so I think this program is such an
Thank you.
important program we have in our community.
Thank you. In our medical professions program, there's an opportunity for them to earn their pharmacy technician certification.
I kept mine for like 18 years, something like 16 years after my college. I just lost it recently because I'm not going back, but I kept it for a long time because it was something to fall back on.
Yeah.
And I did, I had my bachelor's and moved to Romaine, and I couldn't find a job in chemistry, so I continued working part-time for a few years.
We might have to have you come visit our program and
Oh,
talk a little
will
bit
do.
about that.
It was fun.
This is also an open invitation for anyone to reach out to Lisa or I. We're so proud of our school, and we'd be happy to give you a tour of all of our programs. You don't even really need an invite. You can just come in at any time, and whatever's going on, you can watch the magic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both, Leanne and Lisa, for reviewing that data with us. Any board members have any additional questions?
Jack.
I do.
No,
Just like to
Jack.
make a comment. The other night, Amanda, Nakuma, and I attended the Tech Center Honor Society celebration, and it was a very nice event. They included the parents of each student coming up, getting their certificate, their pin, or their stole that they'll be wearing at graduation. And it was amazing to see all the kids and all the things that they're doing. There was one kid, for example, has been accepted at Yale to study computer science. So, and some are going right out in the community, earning a pretty good living. So our tech center does a lot of good things, and the staff had a very nice event the other night, so I just want to give kudos to them, Lisa and Leanne.
Thanks, Jack. Appreciate that. Moving on, next item is old business, and I am going to turn that over to Charlie, and he's going to go through all that process with us. Thank you.
Thanks very much. So item 7A is plan for meeting board goals, and I believe that we all received an invite for what will hopefully be the first of many educational sessions for the evening of June 24th. Do we have any discussion around that? Did anyone not get the invite for some reason? All right. Anything to add on that?
You know, we're working on the list as we talked about at the retreat and just trying to, I think probably, you know, John did a nice report on the curriculum instruction assessment. These are ranked in priority, how you rank them as a board. So probably school improvement metrics and planning, and then we'll be right in the middle of that. So we'll probably get to hear from John and others at that point, but that educational session hasn't been developed yet.
Okay.
So we'll get it going.
And then item 7B, we just had our board retreat last Monday, and now is a good time to reflect upon that. And does anyone have any comments or reflections that they would like to present about that? Did we have a good time? One of the items that was brought up was our facilitator suggested a mission statement, which we would need to follow. That would follow the strategic plan, which we're about to discuss. But one of the things to consider that is whether, if we design a mission statement, whether we want to do that as an entire board, or if we would appoint a subcommittee to kind of work the language of that before presenting to the board. Yes?
comment on that, I was just gonna give some reflection about
Yeah,
the meeting. And I hesitated doing this, but if we're being provided an opportunity to do it, then I'm going to. I was really disappointed. Really disappointed. And that night, I have conveyed multiple times that I was hoping that this retreat was not going to be somebody else's agenda, that it was going to be stuff that we decided that we were going to be talking about. I've been assured multiple times that that was going to happen, and this was the same exact training that we've gotten 2 other times. Same exact training. And we spent the majority on the first couple of agenda items, and then we didn't even get to the meat and potatoes at the end. And, it's 3.5 hours of people's time, and I just didn't think that it was a good utilization of time whatsoever. It was a bummer. Nice lady. But not worth the time. Could have done a lot more things. To be honest. I'm sorry, but that's how I feel.
What it worked out. Anyone else? Then I guess we would go on to,
This is Neil,
Yes.
this is Nilda. I feel the need to interject here. There's gotta be more than one person in this room that has an opinion on how that, retreat went. And the only way that we can ever make an improvement in the future is to find out what the hell you guys thought about it, okay? And I hate to be so blunt, but I hear Joanna, and to be honest, I kind of expected that, because she and I have talked over the years, so I know where she's coming from on some of these things. But some of you new folks, part of the goal was to make people feel comfortable talking to each other. People feel comfortable talking about school board related issues, helping educate, and we had to educate to and I hate to say it because it's probably breaking every educational rule in the book, but we were educating kind of toward the lower middle, right? Because of how the age of our board, and I don't mean in years, I mean in maturity. I don't mean in maturity either. I mean in how many years it's been on board.
Experience.
So,
Months of service, hours of service.
I need to hear from you folks. I need to understand from more than, and I appreciate you and everything you said, but I need to hear from more than her to feel like we can make some improvements, please.
I'll go. I felt like I didn't take, like, when I kind of reflected myself after, like, directly after, I was like, I don't really know if asked what I took away from that. I don't really have an answer of what, really a concrete answer of what I took away from the retreat. I guess I thought we were gonna have more of a discussion of, like, an open discussion. Because when we meet, we don't really discuss with each other. We don't have a lot of executive sessions, so I think like discussing things as a board, like issues as a board. I don't know, I guess just more openness on our own time for that.
I would second one.
I could add too. Yeah, I felt like the first half of it was pretty repetitive to what we learned in the initial orientation. You know, as a newer board member, that was probably 6 months ago, and I was like, yeah, I feel like we all knew all of that already. I mean, not that a review wouldn't have been helpful, but it could have been condensed to like 15 minutes, and then have had more time to maybe talk about the mission and the vision, or I don't know, other things we wanted to work on this year. But it was definitely kind of dry and like not super inspiring, I guess.
I see the point of that training, why, especially since we are a younger board per se overall, but I do wish we had more time to connect as a board. I'm on other committees and I am friends with my other committees, not outside of the committee, but we go in and we have banter and whatnot. I feel like as we work towards helping as trustees of this community, we need to ensure that we can have open dialogue with each other, and the only way we're gonna be able to do that is by having executive session or training where we have open dialogue with each other, get to know each other in that sense. Because we are dealing with a lot of issues and policies that we may not all see eye to eye on. And if we don't have, I mean, like, this is a great example, only one person spoke up. If we don't have that connection and trust with each other, we're not gonna be able to move forward as a board. So I do understand why we had that training, because it's important that we have that foundation and understanding governance protocol. But I also think we need to make sure that we are connecting as a board in trainings so we can move forward and serve our community better.
I would agree. Being one of the newest ones, I didn't know what to expect. I've never done anything like that before. And so I took what she offered. But like you all said, it would have been really nice to get down in the dirt and see what everyone is thinking about the goals and really get to know each other that way. That's kind of what I was thinking it was. And we didn't have an agenda beforehand, so we didn't know what to expect. It would have been nice.
I'll give a little reflection myself. This was the second retreat that I had done, and I kind of felt, kind of like Jess said, it was pretty redundant in the next half, but I felt like she also was kind of reading through material that we already have. Kind of just, you know what I'm saying? She was reading out of the handbook, and I heard her say 30,000 feet so many times. She also caught me yawning. She caught me yawning.
Yeah, more engaging, I think just more engaging of each other, with each other, than listening to someone talk at you. And, I mean, the first part when we did the pictures, we engaged with our table, but not with everyone together. I think that's what I would like more.
Charlie or Jeff, do you have anything to add?
I mean, I agree with a lot of what they said. I felt like the first part was redundant. I think toward the end, as we were closing out, that's when people were starting to get more into it, but it was at the end. I really liked the board retreat we had over the summer, where we were going in deeper with circles. I think that was actually more helpful than this one this past spring.
Any reflections, Jack?
Well,
Sorry to say what
I went up to the presenter at the end and asked what her experience was, because you saw that there was a picture of an elephant, and, you know, when she was fooling with her computer, her screenshot was a young man with an elephant, and so I knew she had some experience, like being in Africa or something. And my comment, and I hate to throw people up under the bus, she was an awful nice person, but I found that the School Boards Association doesn't hire people with a lot of educational experience. So her experience is she's been on a school board, but she worked in third world countries and not really education and that kind of thing. So she was presenting stuff out of their Guide to Board Members book that the School Boards Association has. So I kind of agree with all of you. I mean, I've been to, being the youngest person on the board here, I've been to many, many of these kinds of presentations, and that wasn't a very good one, to be honest. And I had some experience, I used to do trainings for new board members. And I would have gone over about 30 other items than she did, if that's what the purpose of the meeting was. And I think what Joanna is looking for is, okay, we've done some surveys where we listed what our priorities are. Remember that long list we all did? She really has a need to, when we talked afterward, you know, when are we gonna talk about those priorities we have as a board? That's the kind of thing we need to do. So I think,
That's what we said we were gonna do, just to be honest.
yeah.
And so that's the part that's disappointing.
Well, I think I mean, all the things you talked about is good, important stuff, but like some of you have said, you've heard that before. And, you know, we needed to get beyond that more basic list of things, you know, roles and responsibilities and this and that. We've all heard that a lot. So anyway, I think we just need to realize it may not have been what we wanted it to be and improve for the future. You know, that's sort of how I feel.
Just one last thing is that when we have a board retreat, you know, I value Bill and other administrators' expertise for so many things to help guide us and teach us and, you know, instruct us. But when we're gonna have a board retreat, I really want the board to have a say in the board retreat. And that was my wish for this past time, and I made the assumption, and so maybe I should have pushed it another way, that Nilda and Charlie were a part of the creating of the agenda. But these are the things that I just would like to see change in the future, is that we actually have input on what it is that we need to work on, and we make it happen.
So just to clarify, Nilda and I did have a part of that, so you can go ahead and.
Go ahead and what, you want me to?
Go ahead and
Come on,
point that at us, you know, to the degree.
Charlie, this was the same exact training,
Yeah,
beginning to end, third time in a row.
yes, but I'm saying that you put a good chunk of that blame on.
I'm not looking to put blame, I'm looking to make sure that we actually have say in what we're gonna learn about
Yeah.
and talk about, and not just be fed something. Because it's a little coincidental that it's the same exact training, if you had a lot to do with it. So that's what's confusing to me.
Well, thank you all for your candid reflection. You know, it is true that Charlie and I did speak with the facilitator. We did not have the level of input that I think he might have just suggested we had. But we own it. I mean, we didn't say, don't say this. Except I think we did say we don't want to be too basic because they all have the book. But whatever. I'm going to shut up because I don't want to say anything else. And Charlie's in charge. So again, thank you for your candid reflections, and we'll do better.
Charlie's in charge is a terrible connection of words. Last item, just regarding the retreat reflection, in terms of us discussing our vision and our directions. If we're looking to do things in private, we're limited in terms of that. And someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but like we can't just, for instance, call an executive session to see what we're thinking about, or what we're thinking, because we have to have a reason why that can be put out there. But it's possible with the training sessions that we're going to be doing, that might be a good time to, even if it's just at the beginning of the training sessions, maybe do some icebreakers or something to get us talking and get us interacting with each other more.
Can we get an agenda beforehand for the training sessions as well?
Yep, for the ones that we're doing,
Yes.
yeah,
Thank you.
that we can do.
Any other reflections? Then we'll go on to 7C, which is the strategic plan, which we reviewed last week and we have in our packets. And I'm looking for a motion to approve the strategic plan.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second Nakuma.
Okay, and discussion?
The only thing I want to thank the board again from last time, because I think we really went through it as a group, which was terrific, and the idea of let's add some definition and examples, so you'll see at the end of the plan, there's a whole glossary there, along with many links, if you have it electronically, that either go to examples, and many of these definitions, we try to use ones that are, if there's one that occurs that's outside of Maple Run, that's one way that works from the plan, we wanted to really use that. So an example up there, as I look up here right now, is we looked at like all protected classes, that's one that's up there. So we went right to the Department of Education's definition for that. So we just really tried to stay with those greater entities. There's some things that were unique to Maple Run, or there might be things like another one in there is responsive classroom, and there's an accepted definition that's across responsive classroom from the IARP, which is the organization that helps lead restorative practices. I'm saying responsive classroom, I should be saying restorative practices. IARP, too many acronyms. That we went right to their definition and took it right from their work. So you'll see that throughout the document. And I think that was a great additional comment to say, let's make sure we are clear.
Any questions or discussion, especially, we went over the plan in its entirety last time around, but the glossary is the new bit. If there's no discussion, then we'll go to a vote. This is to accept the strategic plan as presented. Nilda?
Yes.
Nakuma?
Yes.
Joanna?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Suzanne?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Carly?
Yes.
Marianne?
Yes, with, yes.
Are you sure? Okay, Charlie's a yes, so that'll pass, and we will move on. We move on to new business, and we're gonna bump item 8F, class size, up to the start. Let me just find the actual attachment here. Do we have somebody present?
Well, Nola, you're the one that asked about this, so maybe you want to talk a little bit. You had asked about this to come on about a month and a half ago. I remember being at SACS and you asked for this to come on.
Yeah, so part of what we're looking at when we're looking at the budget was, is there a way that we could try to figure out how to save some dollars? And when we looked at reducing staff, we realized that you really can't reduce too many staff members and still make an impact, especially in our environment. But we did realize at that point that we have quite a lot of variability in class sizes at our different schools and grades. And we have K through 12 schools, and yet we have different class sizes. So we looked to see if there was a policy that could guide us, and we have that class size policy, which doesn't provide a whole lot of guidance. But there are some education quality standards which do provide guidance for us. So this is an opportunity for us to look at the current policy, probably ditch it for something a little better, and incorporate the education quality standards that are the Vermont standards, correct? And they're not federal, they're Vermont. and, try to follow some of the, guidance that's given there. So that's kind of all I have.
Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, in the education quality standards, that's attached in your packet, it's the last 2 pages. You'll see it's on the last page under 21.2 staff. You'll see some standards in there from the staff from Vermont. I'm on the 4th paragraph, that classes in grades through 3, when taken together, there's some tricky wording here, so I'll tell you how I interpret it at least. But classes in grades K through 3, when taken together, shall average fewer than 20 students per teacher. In grades 4 through 12, when taken together, classes shall have an average fewer than 25 students per teacher. And Nilda, when you and I were talking about it, discussing it, you said, what does it mean when taken together? What does this, and I don't know what the writer's intent was, but I know what my intent was. However you pull together groups of classes, whether you do it at a school level, district level, that average becomes fewer than that. You might have ones that are greater, you might have ones that are less, but that however you want to group classrooms, whether it be at a school, a district, even a regional level, you could say that average is going to happen at those numbers. And that's what there are also some that within the education quality standards, it talks about a teacher should never have more than 100 students on their roll, except for specific nature of the total class, of the teacher's assignment, and then there's a parentheses says such as art, music, physical education programs. I don't know why they did that. I don't have any, I know why they say the 100, I don't know why they called out the other areas. And then school boards must establish optimal class size policies as consistent with the statutory guidance from the Agency of Education. Class size must comply with state and federal safety requirements, which talks about every student. The only one that I know about that is every student must have 36 square feet of room in a room per student. I know we do not meet that in some of our classrooms. I don't need to go measure, I just know I walked in. Mike's kind of smiling at me. I can think of a certain math teacher's on the 3rd floor at BFA, and you walk in her classroom and it's not 36 square feet per student. It's good stuff. So there's also, they have some, there are many, the education quality standards before this used to have a lot more on class sizes by endorsement area. The only one that's left right now is library and media specialists and nurses. And then the page before that, we gave you this data back in November, December for budget plan. We put it back in here. And if you look on our 2nd page, you'll see our class size information, our ranges and number of sections by the K-8 schools, and then you'll see them by department at the high school, and what we get for class size averages there. And so we range anywhere from a class size of 11 average, up to probably, I think the largest I see is 23, anywhere on the K-8s, and in the high school we range anywhere from a 12 to a 50 in physical education, but that's 2 teachers that teach together in the PE classes, for 50. And they decided to do that as a department, because they like to have that flexibility. So I think they've been doing that for years, I don't have.
So this is not an action item, but it's a chance to kind of discuss what we want to do with our cross size policy, which currently looks like a feedback loop to me, because it says that we're going to comply with state law, and then state law says that school boards need to set a policy. There's, in my opinion, a bunch of different information that would be helpful in terms of figuring out what the best policy would be, including what we have space for, what the educational benefits are, and what the budget ramifications of changing the class size are.
I guess I would also look at best practice recommendations for like the younger age, so like preschool, kindergarten. I guess, would we say to 3rd grade, just because in terms of reading?
Usually where the research usually lands, Joanna, is around 3rd grade.
Okay, that's right.
And then Vermont's pretty much in alignment with that.
Okay.
John Hattie has done a lot of that work internationally. looks at that, we can bring that to you.
Yeah, I would love to look at like kindergarten classes in terms of space and teachers and, cause that would be a tough thing to, I mean, you could make a maximum policy maybe, but I would just be concerned about just, yeah.
I also think we should have feedback from teachers before we make any policy changes, because whatever we choose is impacting them. And we work very theoretical, like they're talking about 30,000 feet. So whatever policy changes we make is impacting them, so it'd be nice to have, as we propose X amount of numbers, how would that impact them? Do they have enough seating? I don't wanna end up like some big inner city high schools where kids are sitting on floors or up against walls and stuff like that. I know we don't have that population yet, but I don't want whatever we put in statute to 10 years from now kind of make an issue. So if we can have them as stakeholders in this conversation too.
I'm also curious, is there guidelines around which classrooms get para-educators, or is it more based on individual students?
Almost all of our paraeducators are based on individual student needs. We have eliminated our general paraeducators. There may be less than 5 in a building, but they're actually because of the specific job they have. They're just under that class. I'd have to go get that exactly and have Becky Green give us that.
So if we were to, so presuming that this is going to be an ongoing discussion,
Well, I heard a couple of data pieces,
Yeah.
which was great. Research, space, voices of teachers. Those are the 3 things I heard so far. I heard you ask about paraeducation. I don't know if I gave you if there's more information you'd like, Jess, but that's just, I know, it's a topic we talk about quite a bit of. It's based on student need.
Yeah, did there used to be building para-educators? I feel like when the kids were
Long
little,
time
there were
ago.
a lot.
A long time ago. Those have been gone for quite a while. I'd have to do the history to give you some, exactly.
so we'd be going back to like before your tenure superintendent?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe intervention information as well, just in terms of like, how much special education support do you have for that 0 preschool to 3rd grade classrooms, and then
I wasn't quite following you there. I heard a pre-K
Yeah, I know.
configuration and then intervention. I heard you say
I just
intervention.
want, I guess just all of the supports basically
Yeah.
that are being allocated to that age group, and just listening to people that I know in the field who are working with those 0 to 6 kids. They're just saying that they're getting more and more and more identified students. So when we're thinking about class sizes, writing policy, we also need to be aware of what are the needs of the students within the classrooms that would potentially impact size.
Yeah, I think we can get you information about that from research,
Okay.
and that what is the connection there.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, sorry. Okay.
Nola? You're muted.
People kept breaking up, but one of the other considerations, I think, is that once this policy is ready for prime time, I think it should be used in order to make determinations over time as to whether certain courses should be added. Like, and I'm thinking more in the high school level, because it's not like suddenly somebody adds a course in grade school often, maybe 7th and 8th grade, but if only one student wants to take the new Arabic class that we're gonna offer, do we come up with alternative methods, because one student per one teacher doesn't make, jack sense. So, if we can incorporate that feature into the policy, I don't know if it's a PS or a whatever, but it's another concern I have. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Would you like examples from other districts that have here in Vermont.
Yeah, examples, and I'm with Nikuma to hear from our teachers too. I mean, I feel like the decisions I would make would be to make the classrooms smaller, which is not going to help the budget, but.
Are there districts demographically similar to Maple Run that we could look at in Vermont?
Yes, I mean, where there are, we have to go, grab the class size policies. I think bringing some of the research and what the research says, and what's happening, and what that says about, there's a big piece. There's a couple of pieces I would like you to read and not hear from me first, read first. So.
Yeah. So is the plan gonna be to keep this on the agenda and follow up with data?
That's what I'm hearing. Is that,
Get some homework and then come back and talk about it.
Thank you.
Any other items to add before we move on? Okay, moving to item 8A. This is an action item, the FY25 snow removal contract renewal. I'm looking for a motion to award the FY snow removal contract to Gossamer Construction and Excavation in the amount presented in our attachment. Do I have that motion?
I'll make the motion.
So moved.
Second? Okay, and I will turn it over to Brianne.
Okay, so in your packet, you'll see that I attached a memo, and it's, we created these 3 contracts that I'm going to present in here as 1-year contract renewals. So this is one of the first ones, the snow removal. We had Gosselin the last 2 years. So we're looking to just renew for FY25. It's going to be a 3% increase over FY25. Any questions?
And is this amount already been, that this was already factored into the FY25 budget?
Yes. And this is an estimated cost of what his services will be.
Do we have the, are these all estimated?
No.
Do you have
Which
what
one
the
are you talking about? Sorry.
do you have what the estimated one was and then what the final one was for 23 and 24?
I do have that. I don't have it here.
Just
with
wondering
me.
like how, what is the difference, I guess is what I'm saying, roughly?
I don't have FY23 numbers. FY24, we are coming in under quite a bit because of the snow season that we had this year. So,
Yeah, unfortunately, climate
Yeah.
change, yeah,
yes,
helping us. Okay,
yeah.
awesome, thank you.
And if we don't spend up to that amount, does that go into the capital fund? Or does
It's left in the budget, so if that money doesn't get spent on anything else, then yes, it would roll into the capital.
any other questions? Discussion? Guess we'll go to a vote. This is to approve the FY25 snow removal contract to Gossamer Construction and Excavation. Nilda?
Yes.
Nakuma?
Yes.
Joanna?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Suzanne?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Curly?
Yes.
Marianne?
Yes.
And Charlie's yes. And so we move on to item 8B, which is another contract. This is looking for a motion to award the FY25 transportation contract to Grand Avenue Enterprises doing business as Tourism Transit. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. And Brianne?
Yes, so again, this is another renewal. We had our transportation with Grand Avenue Terracel Transit. We've had them for multiple years. Again, this is a 1-year renewal contract with them. And this is for their yearly contracted amount. There are also additional expenses that we pay when students go on field trips and such.
How much is it just for PE?
I don't have that right here in front of me.
Do you have any idea of the percentage, rough percentage?
I do not. I can quickly look in my file, sorry.
That's okay, it's not anything, so.
So the physical ed shuttle, for FY '25 would be $61,000.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, going to vote. Nilda,
Yes.
Takuma,
Yes.
Joanna,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes.
Jessica,
Yes.
Suzanne,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Carly,
Yes.
Mary Ann,
Yes.
and Charlie is a yes.
Can I just ask one more question, Charlie?
Yes.
Excuse me. Martha, what other options do you have in terms of transportation?
Brianne can answer the question.
Okay, sorry.
So there's multiple different vendors, but no other vendors bid. So Terracel Transit was the only vendor who
The
bid.
only,
The only one,
okay.
yes. And I reached out to, I think, 15 to 20 vendors last year when we were going out for bid.
And this is, I wanna say that that's a phenomenon across Vermont.
Yes.
There
right.
is usually one vendor for every school district. I can't really say any more than that, but you can infer what I'm saying.
Exactly, and I remember you saying to me one time before when I asked this question, and you said it's a legislative issue that, so I guess I would like to educate myself more about that. To find out what we can do.
I wish you could.
I have just as a point of order, we're in the middle of a vote here, so is there any way we could complete the vote or
We
withdraw
completed
the
the
vote? Me answer the question,
We
if there
completed
are
the
more
vote.
questions. What's that?
We completed the vote.
I thought there were a couple people missing, I'm sorry, I miscounted.
No, unless
My apologies.
Did I miss anyone when I called the vote? Me not being able to count to 10 is always a possibility, so. But yeah, we completed the vote.
Okay,
I wish I had an answer, I really do. And I know that I'm not the only superintendent that feels that way.
No, I know,
We just feel like we're boxed in a corner.
right, exactly, with no options, so, okay, thanks.
Because we've talked in a couple topics tonight, I will add this. We have students who need transportation that we're not able to provide.
That need transportation to and from school each day?
Yes, that we're not able to provide. Remember, our high school does not provide transportation for all students.
Is there a boundary that they don't provide it for, like a certain district within the school, like
It's
within like
been
a
the
mile of
history of
school?
BFA, and it was BFA for its inception has not provided transportation to all students that attend BFA.
Is that because it was private previously?
No,
or-
no, it's through its public inception as well.
They do it per town, but they don't go to all,
They don't go to all,
They don't go to
and
all
we have, there are
homes.
places, there are roads that are not serviced as well that are quite a ways. And we don't have the drivers to do it either. I mean,
Oh.
Terracel would say they don't have the drivers to do it.
Mm.
We know we have this problem, we don't know how to solve it. I mean, I have to say that because the leadership team says it to me all the time, and I'm like, I'm up for any good ideas, folks.
thank you.
Item 8D, another contract, this one's food service contract renewal. And-
Charlie,
Yes,
excuse me, I apologize, I have to excuse myself for the rest of the meeting.
Okay,
So, thank you,
feel better soon.
thank you.
I'm looking for a motion to authorize the fourth and final renewal of the food service management contract to the Abbey Group. The businesses Underwood Catering.
Did we skip
two.
C?
I am looking at the wrong item on the agenda, see? That's why sometimes I can't count. I'm looking for a motion to award the FY25 solid waste contract to Myers Container Company in the amount. Do I have that motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay. And back to Serena.
So this is another contract, another one-year, contract. We've had Myers Container for multiple years now. They were our vendor all this year. It would be a 4% increase over FY24. Any questions?
How many companies were bid?
I'm not sure how many I sent it out to, quite a few. And we did receive responses back from a couple of different, companies. And right here in my folder, I do not have the amount of people that I've reached out to, but I did reach out to a lot of the local companies around here.
Rena, you might just explain for these contracts, how the bid worked and when that happened and how these are inflators each year we renew.
Yes, so I went out to bid, back in FY '23. So probably, I think, November of 2023, requesting 3-year contracts, 3 one-year contracts, or, yes. Yes, 3 one-year contracts, with the companies. Reaching out and then asking them to provide, solid waste for BFA, city, town, Fairfield, and the central office. And so they were able to come back and provide quotes for us over a 3-year period.
Any other questions? or
And
discussion?
this is trash, recycling, and composting?
Trash and recycling only, yes.
And what
Yeah.
about the compost?
Compost comes from, Northwest Solid Waste District, and that's under the $40,000, so we don't have to go out to bid for them.
Any other questions or discussion? Going to vote, Kuma,
Yes.
Joanna,
Yes.
Jack,
Yes,
Jessica,
Yes.
Suzanne,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Carly,
Yes.
Mary Ann,
Yes.
and Charlie is a yes. Moving on now to item 8B. This is our fourth contract to go over, food service contract. Looking for a motion to authorize the fourth and final renewal of the food service management contract to the Abbey Group DBA Underwood Catering. Do I have that motion?
I'll make the motion to go on.
Anyone want a second?
second.
Back to Jen.
So this is our fourth and final contract with Underwood Catering, and we would like to have this renewed. The breakfast fixed price rate is going from $2.22 to $2.31. The lunch is going from $4.09 to $4.27, and the management fee is staying the same at 10 cents per meal.
Any questions or discussion?
Are we going to be feeding every single child 2 meals a day just for this contract year, or because isn't it the state?
That's a state mandate now, yes, so,
So that will never change?
no,
Until the law changes.
Until
right,
law changes.
okay, yes, so. And it's only for students who are electing to eat breakfast and lunch here.
Anyone else? discussion, call for a vote. Nakuma?
Yes.
Joanna?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Suzanne?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Carly?
Yes.
Marianne?
Yes.
And Charlie is a yes. And move on to item 8E, which is a van purchase. And I'm looking for a motion to award bid to Mobility Works to purchase a handicap accessible van. Do I have that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and so I will turn this one over to Andrea.
Thank you. Hi, Andrea Reese, Director of Special Education for the district. There is an attached memo with this request. Basically, it came about from a lot of conversations with the physical therapists that we have in the district that are advocating the intended and foreseeable need for alternate transportation in the district. I've been working with Stephanie Ripley, the Director of Early Ed, for the upcoming needs from preschool as kids are rolling up into lower elementary. And basically we just want to anticipate this upcoming need. The model van that we are selecting, I got advice from various other districts. I talked to some transportation directors from districts that already have this, made this purchase. The company that they're using has a branch in Essex Junction, so it's very convenient, and they're happy with the service that they get. The design is a unique design called a smart floor design, in which it has a traction system, so we can remove regular seating and roll in wheelchairs as needed. So I have capacity to be flexible, so we can have mixed groups as needed. I think the max is you can see my notes, you got all my thinking notes on that apparently. I think it's 4 wheelchairs and up to 6 to 8 regular seats, but it would be used for accommodation.
And would it fill all needs?
I'm sorry?
Would it fill all of your needs?
All that I can anticipate right now. Yep.
This would be a dumb question, but our transportation services does not offer handicap accessibility buses?
They have some, but we also have some needs outside of their route time. And there are kids that there are students who need, I'm trying to be really protective of the students, but there are students that need, we need to be able to accommodate outside when they're driving. Would that be safe to say?
Yes, we want to be able to have the freedom to use it outside of bus routes.
Sounds good.
Any other questions? All right, we'll go to a vote, and this is, again, to approve to award the bid to Mobility Works. Nakuma?
Yes.
Joanna?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Suzanne?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Carly?
Yes.
Marianne?
Yes.
And Charlie is yes.
Thank you very much.
Item 8G, it's the Emergency Management System Bid Award, and it's listed as an action item, but I believe we have to.
We're gonna keep it as an action.
Oh, it is gonna be an action item?
Yep, we're gonna keep it. Sorry, I talked to Nilda about that, but I didn't get a chance to talk to you about that.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
In which case, I guess I'm looking to, I'm looking for a motion to award the contract to NWN Carousel. Do I have that motion? Second?
I'll second.
I can speak to this. We are currently in the process of upgrading our emergency access management system in Maple Run. And Bree, I'll take any help that you can give me on this.
Okay.
I really should have Derek Madden here right now. Derek, and he's the facilities director for this building, but Derek needed to go home. He's been here long enough today. He really helps us with this. We're really trying to coordinate all our buildings. One of the things that we've been noticing when we need to go to a crisis situation is our ability to be able to do things electronically. And at next meeting, you will see a secondary quote that would have been with this, but it's not ready for tonight. That will include the door mechanisms for actually closing the doors and locking them. This will give us the ability to control the whole district remotely from any place. And will really allow us to lock down or secure the school if we need to in a much more comprehensive way, and it takes out some of the human error. So this is something that safety committee that Aaron's part of and Derek's part of, they, along with St. Albans Police and some other outside partners and our safety workers, we really said this is something we need. And since we had some funds this year, we said let's go for it. So.
And this company also integrates with our Avaya phone company, so it integrates very well together.
Yes, that's true. Thank you for adding that. I forgot all about it. The phones are gonna be integral in this piece.
Yes.
Any questions or discussion? All right, we'll move on to a vote. This is to award the bid to NWN Carousel, or award the contract to NWN Carousel. Nakuma?
Yes.
Joanna?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Suzanne?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Carly?
Yes.
Marianne?
Yes.
And Charlie is a yes. And then we will move on. We have one more contract to do.
It's not me.
So item 8 is the math program bid. It was very exciting. So I'm looking for a motion to award the contract for the math program to Imagine Learning. Does anyone want to give that motion?
I'll make the motion, come on.
Okay. Second? Okay, and I will turn this over to John.
Yes, I'm gonna try as a former math teacher not to take it personally, your little very exciting quib about
No,
the
that
math
wasn't
program.
sarcasm. That wasn't sarcasm, that's very exciting.
Actually, it is very exciting. I did, so the original plan for tonight was we were gonna have some of the coaches and teachers that were on the group that kind of shepherded us through this project come and present, and then several of them are involved in coaching, and I got some really honest feedback from some others that like this is a really tough time of the year for them, and there's lots of assessing and work they're doing to get ready to prep for tomorrow. So it was decided I would share what they felt like was important with you all. And actually, in the slides that you have copies of, there is a lot in here actually from the presentation you received back in April from the math coaches when we were talking about the curriculum work that's been happening across the district. So I won't go into too much detail, but we started 3 years ago with the envisioning plan prioritizing literacy and certain parts of our math work. The math work was really focused on looking at these absolutely essential high leverage concepts and aligning our assessment across the district with some of the instructional strategies that would support recovery. There was an awful lot of time and funding invested in professional learning to support that, and so that is great work that's been going, and we're seeing signs of initial success with that. But it has been clear for the committee from the very beginning that something that was really needed to help our students and our teachers across the district was to have an aligned program to support our curriculum. And I think actually this graphic, which you saw back in April, makes this really clear. At all of our schools at the different levels, we have teams of teachers using different materials to try to teach the same content. And there are a lot of problems that go with that. The two biggest ones are that it actually makes it very hard for teachers to collaborate with each other, and for us to support teachers with professional development, and for coaches to support teachers in all these different programs. But it actually is really hard on kids. We have a really high mobility rate as a district where we have students that move between our schools. And if you happen to move from a school where you're in the same grade level, you're working with Origo, and then you go to a school where it's Ready Math, that's an unnecessary transition we're asking students to make, because all of these programs have a different approach to the way they teach math. And so that's just another change that a student has to navigate during a change that we know is already difficult for them. It's also not fiscally efficient to operate like this. So I guess maybe that's the third piece. So sorry, and so I was previewing this piece here. We had a really robust evaluation process. Selecting a program like this is actually a really highly impactful thing for kids and for teachers, and so we took our time to make sure that we did have a good process. We got a lot of positive feedback from the process we used purchasing the literacy program 2 years ago, and so we modeled the math process on that. We started with a subcommittee of our math curriculum committee. We involved then the whole curriculum committee, and then we ended up pushing out and involving anybody that teaches math across the district. And there were actually a lot of different ways that people could engage, which I thought was really positive, from online information sessions to opportunities to sit privately and go through the actual physical materials, or the opportunity to meet with their instructional coaches to talk about the different options in the program. And I'll say actually we had really high engagement from teachers in this process, which is not surprising, but was really nice to see. So the final two, there's actually three programs that made it on our finalist list. And this is a little complicated, so when we go out to bid for things like this, we're required really to engage with 3 companies, but it became clear as we were engaging in this process that one of these companies was not going to be a viable program for us. It didn't meet the criteria that we had selected for our evaluation rubric to the same degree that the other programs met. And that was open up. And so really, the committee wrestled with that choice, the subgroup that was making that decision, and the full faculty of math teachers across the district got to engage with IM, the Imagine Math program, and Ready Mathematics. So we did not push open up out to everybody, although we did receive a bid from them. And the survey results were astonishing, actually. Going into this, I was hoping that we would get the same kind of data that we got out of the program review for literacy. And I will just share, when I presented that process and the data we got to my fellow curriculum directors across the state, people were astonished that 80% of people selected the same program. That was really viewed as like an astonishingly high and cohesive answer. And we trounced it here, where 88.9% of teachers that took the survey from across the district selected IM as their preferred option for a program, which was really great. And actually, there's a couple different ways you can slice that data, because each of our schools have unique needs and unique cultures, and so it was really important for us to make sure that we were considering what people at different grade levels and what people from different schools were saying. And so each school, at least 87% of people that responded to the survey selected IM, which again is really strong preference, and then at least 85% of people from each grade level selected IM. So it's really, in terms of respecting the voices of the teachers, a kind of slam dunk in terms of which program for us to consider. We did also have 107 comments. We invited people to give us kind of more qualitative feedback about the different programs. And these are the top themes that emerged. If I were to summarize these, there was a perception that IM will be more engaging for students, that it is more highly aligned with the All Learners Network work that we've been doing in the district, and actually that it provides a lot of tools to teachers that none of the other programs we looked at offered. It is also the only program that has existing tools to pull math down into pre-K, because it is a K and up program, and they will next year have a full pre-K program, which is actually the same exact situation we ended up with the literacy program, and that's how we've been able to pull Amplify into our pre-K classrooms as well. So that's it. I'm happy to take any questions. I will say you can see price-wise, it's pretty close with the other option, Ready Math, that was a finalist. But all of these programs have their own pricing models, and so it is important to note that there are some subtle differences between the prices that, unless you really read with a fine-tooth comb the quotes, you might not pick up on. The Imagine Learning quote is for 8 years, and so that's 8 years for most of the program, but there's two pieces that are an annual cost, and that is the student consumables. And the reason that that was actually a request by us, because a lot of our students actually prefer to download one piece at a time what it is they have to work on, instead of have to use student consumable books. Sometimes teachers prefer that too, and so it's more cost effective for us to only order consumables as we need them. And it is an annual cost for the equivalent of iReady, so that program students can log on to and do some additional practice or work on fluency. But everything else in there is a 8-year contract for the core program and for the assessment tools that go with it. The Curriculum Associates quote is for 7 years, so it's 1 year less. They don't do an 8-year quote, and they also only do bundled pricing, so it includes all of the print material for every single student, consumable and otherwise, for all 7 of those years. And I can tell you, because we've had a contract with them in the past, we have a ridiculous amount of print material from them that we have not utilized, and they just will not let you opt out of that part of the program. And then Open Up, which again is labeled as a not confident bid. That is actually a 4-year quote. That is for teacher and student core texts. There's no consumable, there's only the first year of consumables included in that. And the real reason it's not comparable is there's no digital platform for managing the student and teacher learning included in that quote. And there's no assessment platform included in that quote. And so 2 of the big pieces that the committee established on our criteria is that we're looking for the same program across all of those grade ranges that also was aligned with an assessment program and a digital portal to organize all of the material. Sorry, it's a little longer than the ones you had. And if you have any questions, Veronica's on the math committee, she can answer.
And John, where's the funds for this coming from?
Oh, thank you. So this is part of our COVID response, the last part, major academic purchase of the COVID response funds, our ESSER funds. And so the money for this purchase is coming almost entirely from there, with one component related to a digital tool coming from our Consolidated Federal Grant Program.
And from an access and equity standpoint, you feel good about the curriculum?
Yeah, so from basically all of those standpoints, the committee and the people who were looking at all of the different parts of our evaluation rubric and other questions that were brought up by teachers, feel like it's an improvement over Ready Math, which is the district resource we're paying for everyone, even though not everybody's using it currently.
And regarding the use of the ESSER funds, this is something that was already earmarked for curriculum, and so it's not like we're taking from another program to pay for this.
Yep, so this was fully budgeted in our ESSER plan that we've already submitted with the state. The only thing that it doesn't say is which program we would be spending it.
And the ESSER fund, with the exception of the parts that are not on the ESSER funds, that's going to cover the 8-year commitment?
So the ESSER funds are what we're using for all of those 8-year pieces. So it's actually difficult to use the consolidated federal, or impossible to use the consolidated federal grant funds for more than 1 year at a time. And so there were some of those digital tools that I had mentioned about the fluency practice and some other kinds of online practice that we'll be paying for out of CFG, but our consolidated federal grants, it amounts to about $40,000 a year compared to the 400. That is listed in there as part of the 422,000, but from a different source.
So it's an 8-year commitment with our literacy curriculum. Basically, we're on year 3 of that, but really you took us 2 years to kind of roll it out.
So this is the second year of the contract with Amplify for the literacy program, and that is also on an 8-year cycle.
Okay.
And so one of the initial pieces of feedback that we were given very early on in the literacy piece, or looking at literacy programs, was that teachers were hesitant to buy into something and invest their time into something unless the district made a big commitment, so that they didn't feel like the program would be changing after they learned how to use it. And I think that's a common concern that teachers have because of how quickly programs can change due to funding or other reasons. Yeah.
Any other questions or discussion? We will go on to a vote. This is a vote to award the contract for the math program to Imagine Learning. Nakuma?
Yes.
Joanna?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Suzanne?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Carly?
Yes.
Marianne?
Yes.
And Charlie is yes. And so we are moving on to other business. Let's start with the warrants. Looking for a motion to approve the warrants that should be going around now.
I'll make that.
Okay, may I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion on the warrants? No? I'll go right to the vote then. I'll switch up the order this time. Charlie's a yes. Marianne?
Yes.
Carly?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
Suzanne?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Joanna?
Yes.
And Nicole?
Yes.
Okay. And moving on to item 9B is superintendent report.
Yeah, one of the things that's in your board goals for everybody is that connections with communities. And there's a lot going on in Maple Run. If you look on the website, I know Erin's been pushing out some information on that. There's 2 things I want to talk about next week, and I actually encourage anyone to come with me. I'm going to be going to them. Next Tuesday, Dr. Strokoff, who's done 2 presentations, one in Fairfield, and I'm sorry I didn't write down the location. I'll get that out to you via email. It's at 6 o'clock. I want to say it's at Saks. It's here, say
We're
that.
here.
Thank you. Everyone's telling me it's here. Say that. I need to write my notes better. Thank you, whoever got that going in the crowd. I've heard really good things about his work, and I'm going to be coming to that, so I would encourage any of you to come with me.
I wanted to go, I didn't realize the first one was during our board retreat.
Yeah.
So I was like excited to see that there were more.
Right, so there's one next Tuesday, so I plan to be here, and I
Great.
encourage anyone from the board to come with that. And the second thing, that's a fun thing for me that I always like to do, the middle school track meet is the next night up at Collins Pearly, and they're always looking for people to help time and measure. And it's one of the great ways to go to participate. I did it last year for a couple high school meets, and can help out running it at the same time, just see the great things our kids are doing. That's from 4 to 7. If that's something you want to do, email Erin Mushalo. She'd be glad to get you linked up with the folks that are running the meet and say, hey, you could help. You could always just go and watch, but she's already told me she's signing me up, so. She goes, I know you love it. It's nice. Yeah, I do. So sign me up. And I'll go help. Last year I got to do the long jump and triple jump, so.
That's next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. There's more track meets as well. I think there's one, are the relays this Saturday or are they next Saturday?
There's a track meet on Saturday.
Yeah, so the relays are there, and I'm sure Mike Masher would take any support. You can also go as well, that'd be high school. There's lots of things, stay on the calendar. There's just good things to go, and one of the things that I think is one of the things we should talk about when we talk about our board goals, if we looked at policy governance, which we're not, one of the things it talks about is how do board members collect evidence of, are we meeting the goals? And there's a couple of ways. There's reports that come to the board, but there's also one that's called direct observation. And with a previous board, we had a little form that whenever a board member went to see something from kids, Jack, you said something last time about going to seeing kids. That's something I don't remember. You just said tonight about being at the tech center and said, hey, what goal that we're working towards did I observe happening? And And what was the evidence I saw? You don't get to rate it because that's what the educators do.
Right.
But did I see evidence of that goal? And I'd like us to talk about maybe our next board goals. I could bring a copy of one of those forms and say, that might be a good way in board comments for all of you to say, hey, we're out collecting some evidence of what we see, and we're attending these
That's a
things.
great idea.
So, we can bring those. I do wanna say in June, I think it's gonna be the next June meeting, one of the things the administrative team's been working really hard on is, as you've all heard, we have behavioral challenges in our schools. It's been particularly, we're particularly looking at grades 5 through 8 right now. And, we're developing an alternative program. It's one of the things that's, we've seen that it's really needed. We have a few students that their least restrictive environment isn't in their classroom. And so, the leadership team said pretty strongly, after looking at our data and data review, so I'd like Alexis Hoyt to come and show that data and what we've been looking at and how we're putting that together right now. It does mean shifting resources within the current budget. We're not coming asking for more, but it will be requiring shifts of resources. And it's one of the things that we are not able to access outside partners that we have in the past to provide these services. And so what's happening is we're having to put more and more internal services to support those students. So we think there's probably a better way of doing it. So we've been working on that. So I'm hoping that will be the first meeting in June, but it may be the second, our last meeting that last week. Because as I look at all my leadership team colleagues here, they all know it's a work in progress. We probably talk about every week and where we are. So I wanted to foreshadow that. And that's what's on my list. Those two things. Any questions? Anything I can get for you?
Were we gonna go over the summer schedule or
Oh, the summer schedule.
just?
I'm sorry, I forgot to do that, Mary Ann. I'll make sure I have that for the next meeting. It's usually, let me, can you bring it up on what's on the posted site right now, Aaron? For board meetings, for what's on there, that's what's adopted in March. We can do that right now, Mary Ann, and then we can also say if we need to alter it. I believe it's the first meeting in July and the third week in August, but that's what I believe, without looking at the actual calendar for the board. Ah, you brought it up there, great, thanks. Might need to make that bigger. I can't see it. I can see the colors, pretty colors.
So 7/17 and 8/21.
You see it already?
It's at the top.
Ah, yeah, all right, so the third week in July and the third week in August, the Wednesday. Should we do a poll to make sure we'll have quorums? And I don't need you to commit right now, but I'm just asking, is that something we should do?
I know I'm not gonna be in town Monday.
Okay.
7/17. Yes.
Yes, let's do a poll.
I'm going, no, I'm asking,
Yes, you're Bill, or yes,
for the asking 1 week that I'm doing something, and it is the 21st to the 27th, so
So-
I'm good.
I was
17th
asking if she
May.
was here, that's why she said yes,
Oh,
she's here,
okay,
she can
alright.
make the meeting.
Sorry.
We will do it looks like Aaron's making himself a note.
I think that's
I know how he does his emails to himself, so I think he's making
That's
himself a
smart.
note. To make sure that we just confirm with everybody that those are the dates, and we'll make sure those, Marion, thank you for saying that, and reminding me.
So are we good for the 5th and the 19th, or that's what you wanna come back to us about?
She asked us about, what are the dates, and the dates on the calendar are the 17th and the 21st.
Okay.
I would stay with those.
All right, and we'll stay with the 5th and the 19th in terms of June.
No, we had decided at last meeting to move off of Juneteenth and go to the next Wednesday,
Okay, so the 5th and the 26th.
the 26th, yes.
Thank you very much.
I think I saw Aaron put out appointment reminders, but I just don't recall.
Send yourself an email or.
Item 9C, board announcements. Anyone have any announcements they'd like to make?
There's a industry event that CBOEO is hosting on Saturday to raise awareness for homelessness. It starts at 1 and the walk starts at 1:30 to 4. It's a good way to learn about the resources that we have in the community for homeless and housed and our children that are dealing with it too.
And where is that?
It's it started in Taylor Park and then you're gonna walk around to different community members supports. Martha's Kitchen, Spectrum, Turning Point, Voices, Class Action Network, Samaritan House, so it's gonna be a really nice place to go. Rain or shine, it's going because if you're unhoused, you're dealing with rain or shine, so it's gonna be happening no matter what.
Any other announcements? Agenda for future meetings. Anyone have anything that we want to add that we haven't already added over the course of this meeting? And we don't need an executive session. So before we turn, I'd just like to thank Andrew here.
Angela, we can thank JT, he invited us.
Thanks for the folks at SATAC for hosting. And it is 8:02 and we are adjourned. Thank you.